All right, good day, everybody. This is Zemar Sopertooth, the Sports Inquirer, and happy to be joined by Nicole Fegans from Georgia Tech Cross Country. Nicole, before we get to the Kennesaw State meet that you just had, how was the off season for you overall, just preparing for this cross country campaign?
It was a little different than before because I've never made it to track nationals before, so it was a little bit later. So it was a little weird not starting training again until July, but it was really good. I had my sister to train with me, so it was good. It was awesome, and I was so excited to be back with the team, like always. So
I've spoken to other athletes in other sports, and they said the pandemic really impacted their summer preparations into the fall. Did you find that, or it seems like cross country you kind of can run on your own? I'm sure you train with people and you can keep your distance and go through protocols that doesn't seem like it be as affected as really other team sports.
yeah, it did affect me when in terms of like the competition. Like I feel like everyone says, with indoor being the end of indoor being taken away and then the track season taken away, I was so fired up to just get back. And um I was at the indoor nationals meet and then had to come home, and that was my first nationals meet I made as an individual. So I was super disappointed. I'm like, man, I want to get back there. I want to make sure I can prove that I can be there or get back there again and run well. So it just definitely inspired me for the spring and the fall season of just wanting to show, like, even as hard as everything was, like, our team is still just as fired up as before, and the COVID pandemic isn't going to set us back or anything. So
You've mentioned your track career just as much as your cross country, and you've set several records. You run the 5K and 10K, and I'm sure you've done other disciplines. Oh, how does that crossover or translate into cross country? Are there any parallels, or is it just very different running on a field compared to running on a track?
there's definitely some parallels with that. A lot of the training we do, we still try and keep some cross country involved, to make sure we're getting still have that strength there. Um, but it's always hard to prepare for the hills that you get. I mean, the Oklahoma course we ran last year was definitely a hard one. So you can always only prepare so much for those hills and the longer races. But I know the 10K and stuff definitely does help prepare for that.
You had your season opener a few weeks ago, and you were able to win the individual competition and do well as a team for Georgia Tech. What about that season opener, being back with your teammates and running a course, and you were able to do well?
Yeah, running well is all obviously always awesome. And it was just good to be back with the team, leave with the team win. It always feels good. And just kind of sets the stage for the rest of the season, gets the momentum going. And running as a team is just so awesome. Track, I love, it's my favorite part of running, but it's not as much of a team sport as it is an individual. So coming to cross country is just always awesome to get back with the team and knowing that me finishing well is helping the team, not just myself. So it was awesome.
Yeah, and were you able to work on strategies as far as placement and teamwork? And I don't know if you do much coasting or anything like that as far as running behind people and things like that. But were you able to work on some of those strategies at Kennesaw?
A little bit. That race, a lot of it was just trying to get my body back into this race mentality, because it's always weird taking time off and you're just doing workouts and then you're telling your body, like, okay, go all out. And it's kind of like, whoa, I don't even really know what that means anymore. It's been a couple months. So a lot of it was just getting back into the mindset of racing and being able to, tell yourself, even though it was only like a 4K race, still being at 3K, like, okay, I got to keep pushing. There's only 1K to go. There's people coming, you got to keep fighting and keep pushing. So it was definitely strategy, not only for like the body, but I feel like kind of reworking my mind again too. So
Yeah, and your next race is in Minnesota on September 24th. So that means you have, by the time that you have that race, close to a month, about
mhm.
20 21 days between meets or between events. Do you like that, or do you like the rest of the body, or do you want to be back on the course? And how do you deal with this long layoff?
Yeah, well, I'm someone who I like workouts and racing. That's like the main parts of running that I like. So I still get the workout to kind of fix that itch, but I love racing. But I feel like with cross country, with how long the races get, it's kind of nice to have that break. But again, it's always nice to get back out there. I am looking forward to finally getting to race again. The 3 weeks in between was a little long, but I mean, we're just preparing for this race, which I know is always a good one. So I'm excited for the competition.
What about the start of your cross country career? I know you went to Landmark. You're from Metro Atlanta. But what got you involved in the sport? I always like to hear from athletes, especially cross country, because it's not a traditional team sport that a lot of people gravitate to. But how did you start running?
So my dad was a runner when he was in high school, and then did end up doing that in college, and then or did not end up doing that in college. So he kind of regrets that decision and always wants us. Once he saw us kind of getting involved in running, he was always like, "Look, you got to do cross country. You got to try track. It's really fun." And I was like, "No, I don't really want to. I don't want to." And then my friends started doing it, so I was like, oh, "Okay, now I want to. Now I want to." So I got really involved with my friends doing it, and it was kind of just a fun sport. But then when I got to high school and went to Landmark, I was lucky to have like a really good team and a couple people to like look up to, and saw how focused they were and how dedicated they were and the work that's coming out of focusing in that. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll actually want to take this seriously now, and started doing that. And again, like I said, I had a great team in high school and everyone was just so focused, and we were actually pretty good. So it was like kind of nice. um, yeah, I just had a great team that made me love it, and it felt good to do well with my team, and they inspired me. And then now here I am on another great team. And so I've been really lucky.
Did you always run long distances? Were you ever a sprinter? Did you start off in on the track and then transition to cross country, or have you always done both just since the beginning of your career?
I've always done both. I've always been the mile, 2 miler. I've done the 800 a couple times in high school, and it wasn't great. So I just stuck to the mile, 2 mile, because I definitely knew I was longer. But yeah, definitely always been more the longer distance. Short distances, I get dusted pretty quickly. So
Is there a preference? Do you like cross country? Do you prefer you mentioned a mile or 2 mile? But in track, I guess is it 1600 and 3200? Is that really the discipline you run? Maybe you do the mile? What's your preferred distance?
my favorite race is the 3K.
Okay.
It's like just long enough to where it's like long enough to where like you feel like you're pushing yourself. You don't have to go for a really long time. But yeah, 3K is my sweet spot. I do like the 5K. The mile's fun, but it also is just a sprint the entire time. So it's nice to kind of lengthen that a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, and I've asked other people as well, and I've followed it. The Atlanta running scene is very strong with the Atlanta Track Club, and just you do very well with that. And so I'm sure you're recognized in high school and even collegiately. But what's the running scene like in Atlanta? And obviously, the Peachtree race gets national attention. But what's that atmosphere like just running in this city?
I love it. There's always people out running. We have the Beltline, which is a paved path that goes right through Midtown, which is like the center of Atlanta. And so it's always cool going on there. You always see runners. Actually, this past weekend, I met a couple new runners who someone ran at Georgia, some ran at Kennesaw. So I just happened to bump into them. And then we ran the entire run together and just talked about our careers and what we do now. So it's awesome. There's always someone to see and say hi to. So it's a
Where
great atmosphere.
is that your favorite place to run in Atlanta? Or are there some other tracks? Do you run the mountains? Do you like to run the actual city itself in downtown Atlanta, where Georgia Tech's campus is? Where are some good places to run for you?
We're really close to Piedmont, which is super awesome. I love going to Piedmont Park, and the Beltline I think is definitely my favorite because there's just so much to look at. There's always people riding weird, like not even bikes, but like unicycles doing weird tricks. And then you have a bunch of dogs to look at, and then there's just so much to look at. So I really like it there. We also go to Kennesaw Mountain, which is hard, but it's just pretty and it's nice to kind of get away from the city and the hustle and bustle and just kind of be back in the trails and the quietness. So those are definitely my two favorite parts.
Yeah, and then lastly, the rankings have started to come out now. Got national rankings as far as the team and in the Southeast, and you're charting well as far as individually. How far do you think you and the team can go this year as far as ACC and then even nationals?
I mean, I fully believe we can go all the way back to nationals again. We have a really good team, really strong team, and I know how dedicated we are and how motivated we are to get back there again. Um, so I don't see why we couldn't. There's just such a great group of girls, and I don't know, they're just so focused. I don't want to use the word dedicated again, but they're just so dedicated that I don't see why we can't. And I think we're going to do really good things this year.
Well, Nicole, thank you for your time once again. Good luck, and we'll talk later on in the season.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.